What's going on, everybody? This is Novakast back with another video for you guys, and I'm not kidding with the title. The video that I'm responding to is Canine Aversion for 12 minutes whining about Joe Biden's dogs. Now, first, even though that we are criticizing this individual, I may crack a few jokes. As it says in the description of the video, we do not condone, or me and Novakast, do not condone any harassing, bullying, and doxing, etc. Even if the individual doesn't know what they're talking about, again, we do not condone harassing, bullying, and doxing. So please don't do it, and don't try to claim that it's on our behalf. We are against that type of behavior. So again, don't do it. Second, regardless of whether you like Joe Biden or not, we're going to set this lady straight because, yeah, considering that this individual kind of made a really poor take of themselves using an air horn on a dog that was, across the road of her home, claiming that she will not be harassed. Yeah, I don't, consider this person to be the best source of logic. So, without further delay, why don't we go ahead and get started in this, shall we?
I thought we could talk about Joe Biden's dogs.
I would say let's not because of your lack of capacity to, be honest, but let's be fair here. We're already doing a video, so let's go ahead and hear what you have to say.
Joe Biden, for those who might not know, is the new president of the United States, and he owns two dogs, two German Shepherds.
Well, and used in law enforcement and a variety of other tasks, German Shepherds are reliable when trained properly. Though, I have a feeling that wasn't the case, or at least what was, intended for when Joe Biden picked those dogs. I'm pretty sure he probably thought that they were two giant fuzzy chihuahuas, but that's me no longer talking shit about the president, so let's continue on.
And the American public was thrilled when he became president and moved his dogs into the White House. They actually performed an inauguration ceremony. This is a real thing.
Oh, wow, that is so cool. That is so interesting, and I'm trying to understand why that is such a big deal. Because really, who gives a shit? I don't understand why you are either.
That is how wacky the United States is.
Well, I'm sure it's a lot more sane than, referenced from earlier. A crazy lady blowing an air horn at a dog that is across the road from her house, repeating the same phrase over and over again, that I will not be harassed.
I will not be harassed when I'm in my own yard. I won't be harassed when I'm in my own yard, minding my own business.
You're fucking weird.
These dog worshippers are really something else. To host a ceremony for a predatory carnivore that eats shit and has no idea what is going on.
Whoa, 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 lady. Come on, be reasonable. I mean, I know people eat junk food, but is it really necessary to talk shit about people? I mean, some of those people that eat junk food are, or in this case, eat shit all day. I mean, some of them are your fellow dog haters. I mean, are you really going to talk shit about people like that? Heck, I'm sure you even eat the occasional, bag of potato chips, but that's just dissing yourself.
Oh shit! Burn! Burn!
And wasn't even present at its ceremony. Major, that's the dog. The first rescue dog to live at the White House, by the way. God, I hate those two words together. Rescue dog. Ah. Major, the dog, didn't attend the dog inauguration because he and Champ, that's the other German Shepherd, are, quote, hard at work in preparation for their big move this week.
Oh my fucking god. This is actually kind of funny, and it shouldn't be, but at the same time, especially when it comes to this individual, they're getting so triggered over this. Like, they're getting so bent out of shape over something that is really meaningless. Also, in case people were wondering, a rescue dog is a dog that is rescued from a possible euthanasia after being found as a stray or a dog that has been saved from a abusive or neglective home by an animal rescue organization such as RSPCA in the UK or the ASPCA in the USA. Or in some sense, a rescue dog is a dog that is simply no longer wanted or can no longer be cared for by its owner. You know, thinking about it now, I'm pretty sure I have a hunch as to why, when it comes down to it, she is so triggered by this. You know, the whole fact of, rescue dogs, besides, being rescued from euthanasia, when it comes to, dogs being, rescued from abusive situations, I'm pretty sure with that case, that would just disprove the to canine aversion that humanity is so great, and that overall some of us, especially when it comes down to how we treat not just other people but animals, that we're literally pieces of shit,
said NBC Today show's Jill Martin. Hard at work? Doing what? What were they doing? Packing boxes? Loading up the moving van? Were they contacting, their phone and fucking internet companies to provide them with their change of address? Well, hard at work doing what? I'll tell you what they were hard at work doing. They were hard at work licking their balls.
Besides the stupid rant from, when it comes down to the article and how they word things, I really cannot understand how anybody can consider this lady, credible at all, or reasonable for that matter. I really can't.
Anyway, so Joe Biden adopted. I did it. I said that word, adopted. It's a word. See, this is so ingrained in me, and I'm trying to get out of this habit of saying adopted when I'm referring to a dog or a cat or any animal. The word adopt is a word reserved for human children.
Well, it depends on where you look. And by the way, just so you know, as time progresses over the years, the definitions of certain words expand. So the word adopt, by the way, if you look at dictionary.com, has 3 definitions. One being to choose or take as one's own, make one's own by selection or assent. 2, to take responsibility for raising someone else's biological child as one's own, specifically by a formal legal act. Or 3, to acquire a pet, especially one from an animal rescue organization. So, yeah, as much you want to deny it, adopt does not refer to just humans. It also refers to animals as well, which is why, a lot of organizations uses the term or the word adoption when it comes to acquiring, an animal like a dog, a cat, a bird, etc. So, in your face.
Anyways, he purchased a dog from a shelter back in 2018, and I'm convinced this was just part of his, his campaign. He's trying to look good.
I kind of feel like you're overthinking it.
in the eyes of the American public that worships dogs.
You serious?
So he went and purchased a dog from a shelter. You know, he got a rescue dog. Ah, let's vote for him.
I'm sure there are other reasons, kind of biased reasons why a lot of people were voting for Biden, but I don't want to get into that because, one, he's already our president, and two, I don't want to go political. But three, something I should probably mention, is really, why the fuck do you care? I mean, seriously. And what is it to you, his decision to adopting, and I'm saying that word because I want this person triggered because they are a nuisance. What is your deal with somebody adopting a dog? Is it real? Does it really have to be this big thing? It's like, oh, they need to, look good for the public. There are a variety of reasons why he could have purchased the dogs. One, probably because, more likely, he likes dogs, if anything. And wanted to adopt 2 dogs that were more likely, I would assume, were about to be euthanized. Because more likely nobody was adopting them. So, again, I don't get why you're getting so bent out of shape over somebody who, more likely made a selfless decision to adopt 2 dogs that, more likely are, taken part of, or at least a big part of his life now. I really don't get this.
Because he has a rescue dog. See my video called Dog Worshippers Use Virtue Signaling to Gain Status.
Heads up, guys, don't watch her content. You'd probably get more enjoyment from eating sandpaper, or, if anything, anything vile and deplorable than watching her content.
That is exactly what Joe Biden was doing back in 2018.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I gotta say it, because I feel like I'm the logical one in this situation when it comes to this conversation. I know it's not really a conversation, it's me rebutting her video, but let's be honest here. You're not Joe Biden. So how exactly would you know why or his reasoning for adopting a couple of dogs? You wouldn't. Just like I wouldn't know what Joe Biden was thinking when he bought a couple of dogs or adopted a couple of dogs. And, by the way, as being another individual who, is very lax, and here's a piece of advice for you, lady. Let it fucking go. And not get so bent out of shape over stupid shit.
When he purchased this shit eater. When he purchased the dog at the shelter, he stayed, quote, telling stories and taking selfies with staffers for over an hour. All part of that image, trying to look good, because he wants people's votes.
And I didn't vote, and I have 2 chihuahuas. What does that say about me, shithead?
He knows that people will eat up this shit. So anyway, the dog bit someone earlier this month. It had what they call a biting incident. Bit someone who works in security, and we were told that the exact condition of the victim was unknown. The victim wasn't named. It was never explained exactly what happened. We were given very little information about the victim, but a whole lot of information about the dogs. The dog that bit this person, who, as far as we know, could have been minding his or her own business, possibly did absolutely nothing to provoke this animal. We don't know the details. Why don't they give us the details?
Now, I'm going to go ahead and play devil's advocate because, let's face it, this lady is going to be biased as well as, try to bring in the case. It's like, oh, a dog bit somebody, then that automatically means let's get rid of all the dogs once again. So, play devil's advocate. 1, it was wrong for the dog to bite somebody. But 2, you got to take in consideration what you mentioned before. The 2 words that you are so triggered, for. Rescue dog. And as we were talking about, briefly, again, a rescue dog is a dog that was rescued from possible euthanasia, found as a stray, or saved from an abusive or neglective home. So, let's say, for instance, that this is a dog that had to deal with a abusive or neglective home or owner. And you got to understand, too, I mean, let's face it, this lady wouldn't understand, but, when it comes down to dogs, they, like humans, they feel pain. And unfortunately, unlike, with a lot of us, or as humans, dogs become very sensitive to that and are very defensive when it comes down to new interactions. So, in the article that you showed, it talks about, the dog being surprised by someone who is unfamiliar. Now, with a lot of cases, especially when it comes to usual attacks, dogs, when it comes down to something that is unfamiliar to them, will become defensive. And at times, if they feel cornered, will resort to biting or attacking. So, in the sense, the details are all there when it comes down to what could have possibly happened. But unfortunately for you, because you are biased when it comes to your beliefs, you don't want to see the possible, other situations that could be taking place. Again, what the dog did was wrong. But at the same time, there was definitely a reason as to why the dog did what it did.
Do you have more details than I have? Please share them in the comments. I was unable to find any details about this incident. The dog that bit this person was 3 years old, was the younger of the 2 dogs, and had been known to display agitated behavior on multiple occasions, including jumping, barking, and charging at staff and security. They were explaining, when I read this article, about how the dog, both dogs, were moved out of the White House after this. They were both expelled and sent back to Delaware. And I thought, good. They went on about how the dogs were stressed. They were trying to adjust to their new home. And this was very stressful because the dog had to take the elevator.
There's an article that will be shared in the description for this video that talks about moving your dog or animal to another location. It talks about how sometimes dogs become really attached to the house that you previously lived in, and moving causes them stress and fear when it's time to move. And some things that could happen, or I guess symptoms of anxiety due to a move, will result in trembling, tuck tail, withdrawal, hiding, lower activity levels, escape behaviors, diarrhea, licking, biting, and drooling. And in the article, it also gives some examples of how to prevent some of the anxiety for your pet.
And it had people watching it when it was outside on the lawn. Oh, big stress. And the feeling I got was that, we should have empathy for these dogs.
Yeah, lady, we know. You have no empathy, no heart for anything other than yourself.
Damn! because they were so stressed out. You know, if a human being had lashed out and injured someone because they were stressed out, we would have no tolerance for that. That excuse would not fly. Oh, yeah, he punched someone in the face because, when he was out on the lawn, the paparazzi were looking at him.
I kind of feel like that's a piss poor example. I mean, really, how many people are actually going to, have to deal with paparazzi? I mean, really.
Well, yeah, he lashed out and stabbed a security agent with a fork, but, he had just moved into this new house that was so different, and the move really stressed him out.
You know what's funny and kind of ironic when it comes to this comparison that she's trying to make? It's funny that she's trying to claim that, this is something that, humanity would not recognize as an excuse for bad behavior. Yet, when it comes down to, people being her detractors, people criticizing what she has to say, she's had a variety of her fans, two in particular, Rational Thinker, as well as I Hate Dogs, Dog Lovers are Mentally Ill, repeatedly threatening people's lives, threatening to gut a pregnant woman, find people, and shoot them in their own homes. And Canine Aversion didn't even bat an eye, in fact, even applauded their behavior. So, I find it, again, ironic that she wants to, compare humans using this type of example, but at the same time did exactly what she's, shitting on people for.
We would never accept that as an excuse if we were talking about a human. Dog worshippers will say, but dogs aren't human. You can't expect them to have the same reactions as humans.
And you kind of made my point for me. And that's exactly the point. Because unfortunately, dogs, they have base reactions to certain scenarios. Whereas us, who are more complex, have a variety of different ways with dealing with an issue or behaviors.
You can't expect them to reason and to think and to control their behaviors the way humans can. Exactly. And that is precisely why these animals have no place in human society.
I smell Jar. You're ugly.
Yeah, once again, the extreme that you want is not feasible. And also, when it comes down to it, especially since, with a lot of situations, dogs have been trained to provide a variety of different services as well as do a variety of different tasks, it's going to be a cold day in hell when people finally decide to ban and remove dogs from society. But at the same time, especially when it comes to their behaviors, there is a way to prevent some of the more destructive behaviors, which is something that you don't want to discuss because that implies that, to some extent, there is a way to coexist with dogs. Again, some of them who, have dealt with abusive or neglective homes, there's a way to, in a sense, train those dogs as well as deal with their, or let's say prevent, again, their behaviors. But unfortunately for you, because you're so close-minded, you don't want to see that.
But I read, a couple of articles about this, and that was the implication, like, oh, they were making excuses for the dog. and we should, feel sorry for the dog. Never mind feeling sorry for the security agent that was viciously bitten. They were appealing to us to have compassion for the dogs, not the human, only the dogs. Well, I came across this article yesterday, and I thought I would talk about it. It was written by an absolute dog nut.
You gotta love when people try to denounce what other people say by using derogatory terms. Like, this person is a dog lover, a dog nut, a dog worshiper, and a variety of other things, especially when, these individuals who use these derogatory terms are incapable of actually speaking reason. You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
And it's the same old mantras. The dog is the victim in every bite incident. The dog is never to blame. In the minds of these dog worshippers, the dog is always the victim. The dog is the victim. Every dog that bites has to be forgiven. Humans are always to blame for dog bite incidents. Every human has to be trained from early childhood to respect dogs above humans. Every child has to be trained to a very high standard to avoid frightening or upsetting dogs. This kind of stuff makes me sick.
How so? I mean, you're making it a bigger deal than it really is. I mean, is it wrong, especially when it comes to understanding an animal, to have a, just a basic knowledge of how to handle or deal with situations involving, either dogs or cats, etc.? And that's the unfortunate thing, especially with people that are afraid of dogs. And I'm not classifying, canine aversion as somebody who's, not just afraid of dogs. She's a radical dog hater. She's literally that, which is why usually when it comes to discussing these videos, I have to make that distinction, is that you have people that are genuinely afraid of dogs and more likely have never had any experience with dogs, usually. And then you have the radical dog haters who only speak out of emotion and never logic. And at this point, especially when it comes to people who have a second opinion or a different opinion than theirs, they want to go to all-out war with these individuals because they have to be the ones that are 100% right when they are 100% wrong. And when it comes to this particular topic, people like canine aversion would rather have you be ignorant of the topic at hand, so that way, when it comes down to, any situation with dogs, they can claim that they are the ones that have been right all along, that they are the arbiter of truth about how dogs really are in society, when really that's not the case. By the way, link will be in the description below for this particular article, in case people were wondering, because the person in question, or the person that wrote the article, Carol Bryant, hopefully I said that name correctly, gives the statistics when it comes to bites from dogs, as well as, discusses what I've been talking about recently, especially when it comes to a dog adjusting to a new environment, and as well as some of the behaviors. So when it comes down to it, at least looking at it at this point in time, especially since, again, because I know this triggers canine aversion, because this is a rescue dog and more likely has suffered from a abusive or neglective home, the situation with their behavior is, to an extent, understandable. Because, let's face it, you have a dog that, again, may have had to deal with a neglective or abusive home with bad owners, which, implies canine aversion, that people are shitty, or at least some of them, especially when it comes to animals. And a dog who, at this point, is in a loving environment, had to move, and more likely got attached to where they were at, more than likely became stressed. And yes, animals like dogs can feel stress. And this in some way started to, agitate the dog. And after having to deal with someone who was unfamiliar, the dog decided to either become defensive or resort to biting. So, in a sense, it's not as unknown as you want to make it out to be. If you look at all the information, as well as try to understand the animals that you clearly do not understand or refuse to understand, it's clear, or at least the picture is painted for us of what could have happened and why the dog acted the way it did.
And this kind of stuff also makes me more and more convinced that the most likely way we're going to start managing and eradicating the dog menace is through animal welfare means. Persuading people that imprisoning dogs is cruel. This crazy woman is open about how dangerous dogs are.
Yeah, so dangerous that she even, in the next sentence, by the way, and you even show it, that discusses that, the behaviors from unruly canines can be prevented and corrected with proper training and early intervention.
You are made of stupid.
She tells us that dogs are estimated to bite more than 4.5 million people every year in the United States. She adds many dog bites and unruly canine behaviors can be prevented and corrected with proper training and early intervention. Key word here, many. Many dog bites, not all.
And you do realize that life isn't perfect. There will always be setbacks. Again, I'm not trying to defend, dog attacks. But at the same time, life isn't perfect. It's like the fact that, we have laws that prevent, a variety of different crimes. Yet, for some reason, for whatever reason, we still have stabbings, we still have gunnings, we still have people that do hit and runs, we still have drunk drivers, we still have a variety of different atrocities, even though there are laws in place to prevent those certain atrocities. And I go back to my previous statement that life isn't perfect. If there's a way to prevent and correct an issue, then we do our best with what we got. Not everything is going to be perfect. That is the unfortunate fact.
In many reports of dog attacks, the dog that attacked was the quote-unquote best dog for many, many years. 8 years, 10 years. Never showed any signs of aggression. In fact, I would say that this is the rule rather than the exception. It would seem that most dogs that rip people's throats out of the blue, unprovoked, most dogs that bite were socialized, were well-trained. This excuse doesn't fly.
And unfortunately, again, because I go back to my previous statement, that life isn't perfect. Yes, we will have dogs that are fully trained, but there will always be those setbacks. There will always be those times where a dog, probably, at its older age, something will trigger it to snap. That's the unfortunate fact. And as much as I hate to say it, the same goes for humans too. We have laws that are supposed to prevent certain things from happening, yet still people are shitty to one another. There will always be something that goes wrong in the world. And I'm not trying, I don't want to sound like I'm justifying it. I'm only saying that it's a fact that even though we wish for a perfect world where there be no harm, no peace, no death, etc., that's just not going to happen. There will always be somebody getting hurt. There will always be death, destruction, etc.
She is lying to us. dog worshippers are deceptive and manipulative.
You gotta love how, this lady wants to use vague statements and not give any examples. I'm just gonna, let me ask the question. How exactly have I, myself, been manipulative? Especially when some of the things she said, I've counteracted it with facts as well as other articles that prove my points. How exactly am I manipulative? If anything, especially since all you can do is spout fear-mongering as well as using derogatory terms towards people that don't agree with you, wouldn't that mean the fact that you yourself are being manipulative? You yourself are being an individual who can't handle being wrong, so you're going to try to shame people for not divulging into the same mythology that you believe. Actually, no, sorry, mythology that you believe.
And that's what this article is. She's very open about how dangerous dogs are, but she flips the responsibility onto intolerant humans. People like her will never see the light, and they will prevent others from recognizing that keeping dangerous animals in human society is unacceptable, no matter how well trained dogs are. She writes, "Dogs don't bite or act up out of the blue. This is a lie. Bully breeds were selectively bred to show no warning signs prior to attacking. That's what they were bred for." And she lists a bunch of reasons why dogs bite. Dogs bite when they are afraid, when they feel threatened, when they get excited, are at play, when they've been trained to be aggressive, when they are being protective with food or treats, when they are in pain or annoyed. Could you imagine a human being becoming violent and then using one of these as an excuse?
Yeah, I find it interesting that you keep making the comparison or trying to make a comparison when it comes down to, humans killing each other as dogs killing humans. And just so you're aware, when it comes to people killing other people, humanity has killed each other for less. We've killed each other for resources. We've killed each other for freaking land. Hell, when it comes to ideologies, we've, killed each other for that. There's a variety of reasons why humans have killed each other. And even with our laws in place, we still find a way or a reason to harm one another. Whether because one person has more money, one person doesn't like what you have to say. Heck, even at this point, freedom of speech, something that is, for Americans, our God-given right. The First Amendment. You say the wrong thing, and you are considered, a deplorable individual, and either will become physically harmed or killed for what you say. I'm sorry, but I don't understand why you're trying to make this comparison. When it comes down to, trying to make it out as if dogs kill more people. We, as humans, have killed greater numbers than dogs will possibly ever do. We will do more damage to society than dogs will ever do. So, do us all a favor and stop making this comparison. As well as when it comes down to discussing the topic at hand, how about you have, a little bit more honesty, as well as doing your fucking research. I'm about 40 minutes in. I'm done with this video. I think I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Truly appreciate it. If you guys have anything you'd like to add, leave in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links are in the description down below, as well as check out our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Rob Novakast signing off. Have a good one, and take care. Peace.